The Joe Rogan Experience.
Have you tried the new ones like Moxie and TX6 or something?
What, new weed?
No, there's new types of like psychedelics.
Oh,
You're over that shit?
I don't need that. The stuff that's real is good enough. These people want to try out something other than mushrooms? Like, what are you looking for? Acid's not strong enough for you?
I don't think it. There's one that you could turn off.
Oh, you turn it off?
Yeah.
Like with a switch? Like an app?
No, like, you know, like if you're drunk, you can kind of make yourself sober if you need to. So this is a psychedelic that you can switch off.
Oh,
What's
really?
it called? Is it Moxie?
This
Hold
is
on.
Moxie. It's 5-MeO.
Yeah.
MIPT.
What is it called? Hold on. There's Moxie and then 2CB is the other one.
I've heard of 2CB from
Yeah.
the Kanye song.
Oh, is that from the Kanye song?
An analog of the more popular drug 5-MeO-DIPT. Foxymethoxy.
Isn't that great? It's got an old-timey name. I've never done it.
Interesting. Foxymethoxy is a great name.
So it's like, I guess, hipster mushrooms. You probably haven't heard of it.
Well, they're always coming up with new things to avoid certain drug tests where they just alter a chemical just slightly. And it doesn't fit. That's where 5-MeO DMT was not classified as one of the banned psychedelics in the 1970 Sweeping Psychedelic Act. And dimethyltryptamine was labeled. 5-MeO is DMT with an oxygen molecule attached to it, which eliminates some. I don't know exactly how it works, but the visuals are very different. It looks very different. It feels very different. It's way more potent, and it was legal forever. Like, you could order it in the year 2000s. We would get it from a fucking chemical company where you'd order it over the internet, and they would send you like an aspirin bottle of the shit, and you could literally put the entire city on the moon with that that little aspirin bottle.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was so potent, and it's this white pure powder that is like straight from this laboratory.
Yeah, pharmaceutical grade.
Pharmaceutical grade, not for human consumption. 5-methoxy dimethyltryptamine. And we took it, and it just puts you in the center of the fucking universe. You feel like you're a part of every cell and every atom and every neutron, everything. You're part of everything. You're in the soup of it all. There's no detachment between you and things.
Yeah.
Everything just, whoa. You disappear for like 15 minutes. You're sure you're dead. You're absolutely 100% sure you're dead. And it probably is what happens when you die. And then you come out of it, you're like, what in the fuck? Like, I just got that from a company? I just ordered that with a Visa card? Like, it's crazy. This is pre-PayPal. This was you'd be able to just buy this stuff. Like, there was a host of these different things. Like, do you remember Salvia?
Oh, I was just talking about that today. Is that still legal or not?
I don't know. It's a good question because it's kind of fallen out of favor. It's not something that people talk about a lot. But when people found out that you could just get Salvia from a head shop, like, head shops are supposed to be, you can buy bongs, you can buy velvet posters, but there's nothing there that can get you fucked up. But then they started selling Salvia because it was somehow illegal. And it is one of the most mind-blowing psychedelics known to man.
For 10 minutes, yeah.
It's fucking unbelievably powerful. Ari Shaffir did some on a podcast, and he lived an alternative life for 3 months. He had a family, he had jobs, he had friends, and then all of a sudden, zoop, he came back to reality. And he was like, what
I
the
love
fuck?
This. In an alternate reality, Ari Shaffir has friends.
He has his friends in real life. I'm one of his friends. But he had different friends that I didn't even know. He just went into this place and lived another life. I think he was under the ocean too. Yeah, there he is right there.
Oh, wow.
So he's gone, and he was getting, and Red Band of course filmed it, and so he got very violent when he woke up too.
Oh, like violent?
Yeah, like, get the fuck away from me. Everybody was fucking with him.
Because it's disorienting.
Yeah, he's confused.
Because you're physically paralyzed.
Yeah. So he's like, get off me. Sam Tripoli's got his sunglasses on. It was chaos. Anyway, he came out of it, and he said that while he was out for 10 minutes, he lived like 3 months in a different world.
Jesus Christ. And then you have to wonder if that's the real one and this is the fake one.
Ah!
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. That's what apparently when you would have the Catholic priest going down the aisle, waving, that would either be sage, which is, I think,
cleansing,
a derivative of Salvia divinorum. I think not a derivative. A cousin, maybe a close relative. I think sage and Salvia divinorum are extremely close.
Okay.
In terms of like the genus. Genus?
Genus, yeah.
Genus.
What's the genus for sage?
I think it's real close. I think it's one of those things where they think that maybe people were burning that, but they were probably also most definitely burning cannabis. And so they were wafting through the aisles with cannabis smoke, getting everybody secondhand high.
Huh.
Yeah, and that's
it's going to have that experience, yeah.
Yeah, to take them into this fucking Catholic journey. The guy's wearing a robe, just fucking these stained glass windows everywhere. Like, holy shit. And look at the epic structure.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at these gigantic, beautiful artworks that they're calling buildings.
Sage or salvia?
Okay. All sages are salvia.
Wow.
Over time, though, the term sage has been closely aligned with cooking or medicinal use, and the term salvia has been given to more ornamental members of the genus. Yeah. Nevertheless, salvia is the Latin name or genus given to all these plants. Yeah, so sage is salvia. So Salvia divinorum, this incredibly potent psychedelic, is common sage.
Wow. Or close or basic for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, in the neighborhood of it.
And it's like a mix of acid and weed.
Yeah,
for
look at
10
those
minutes.
guys tripping balls, son. Those guys are walking around with salvia, blowing salvia smoke. That's not a coincidence, man. They could have picked fucking cedar bark. Like, they chose
keep the
to
moths
take
away.
some super potent psychedelic and waft it through the air as they're walking back and forth.
Well, there's also that theory that the Salem witch trials are because they're all eating ergot.
Yes, from the
And they're all-
bread,
and
from
they're
the
all
late
tripping.
frost,
Yeah.
or early frost. Yeah, that apparently is a really good one. Like, they really think that really could have been it. Like,
Well, there's a book called The Oracle about the Oracle at Delphi, right? And she had these visions and she would prophesy the future. And they went there and they found her stool. She was sitting
her
over
poo or her stool that she sat on.
it's got 3 legs to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought like an animal.
What's it
Stool
called?
sample.
Copro. What's the thing for dinosaur poo? Fossilized copro something.
Oh,
You can get those.
buy dinosaur poo.
Yeah, fossilized. Yeah. So they found she was sitting over a crack
Whoa.
with natural gas coming out. So she's getting high off of whatever that is.
Oh, no shit. So there was natural gas leaking out through the ground where she was partying.
Yeah. So of course she's going to be speaking gibberish and having all these visions because she's getting. It's like not like when you inhale the
Yeah. And laughing gas
Huffing.
when you go to the
huffing. Yeah.
Oh,
Nitrous.
it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a lot of these cases.
Of course.
Wacky things that people did. I mean, it only makes sense. I mean, they never did figure out what soma is in the ancient Hindu.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, they think it might have been some kind of psychedelic, but they don't know what. Like, there's all this different speculation. Like, some people think it was a combinatory, that it was like psilocybin mixed with something else, and lotus flower. There's all these like different theories, but nobody really knows. But soma was obviously something that they were taking as a sacrament that would have these profound effects. That's most likely the root of all of these crazy religious experiences. These people were tripping their fucking balls off, and they weren't lying. Like, God did come to them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, God did come to them out of the burning bush and spoke to them. And that's the other thing, the burning bush. They think that, these scholars in Jerusalem think that the burning bush is probably the acacia bush, which is rich in DMT.
Oh.
So that's probably why this is the metaphor, right? The burning bush, and God spoke to them in the burning bush. That's probably what it really means. They were tripping, but they were smoking it, tripping balls, and they met God, and he came back with, this is the only way we're going to get along. We've got to stop raping each other.
And the other thing is a lot of these old mystery religions, right? You have to be initiated into them.
Yes.
And if you're going to join this cult or whatever, for lack of a better term, and they give you, here, take this, you are going to experience something not only that that you've ever heard of,
right?
But like you don't even know how to handle it.
Yes.
And it will change your life permanently. But there's no vocabulary for it there. It's not like now where you know what acid is. You're like, holy shit, this is religious.
Right. You would think it's God.
Yes.
You met God. Yeah.
Unless it's bad, and then you meet the devil.
You know about that guy, John Marco Allegro? Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the guy who deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
He worked on the panel for 14 years, and he wrote a seriously controversial book. He was an ordained minister, but he was the only one on the Dead Sea Scroll translation group that they put together that was agnostic. Because he started studying, well, he was an ordained minister, but then he started studying theology, and he was like, this is all fucking crazy. Like, what is this? So he became agnostic, and he wanted to look at the etymology of the words.
Okay.
And so it was his conclusion after 14 years that the entire Christian religion was a gigantic misunderstanding. And what it really was about was psychedelic mushroom experiences and fertility rituals.
Okay.
And he broke down the word Jesus to an ancient word, an ancient Sumerian word that means a mushroom covered in God's semen. And the idea was that the rain, which would make everything grow, was God's cum. and that it wasn't a bad thing. Like they didn't think of cum as bad. They wanted to live. Everybody wanted to have children. They wanted to prosper.
Yeah.
And that when the rain would come, mushrooms would appear almost instantaneously. Like have you ever seen how mushrooms appear after
it's overnight? Yeah, it's seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they would eat those, they would trip their fucking balls off. So they had decided that this was Jesus. And that this was what
because God's son.
Yes.
Right? God created this from his own seed.
Well, this is what Marco Allegro's his research was pointing to. He was trying to say that what was really going on was these people were trying to hide a lot of what the psychedelic rituals are from the Romans and from the people that captured them. So they hid them in stories and parables, and then there was all sorts of problems in the translations. There's just like, you're taking things from ancient Hebrew and you're breaking it down to Latin and you're breaking it down to German and English. And
I can't believe he got a positive reception for this. If you're taking on...
didn't necessarily. The book got bought out.
Okay.
By the Catholic Church, and then recently reinstated, and then
what do you mean bought out?
They bought it. I think they took it off the market. I think you used to be able to only get a copy of it. You used to only be able to get a used copy.
Okay.
Of it. And then Jan Irvin put it out. He republished it like I want to say maybe 8-10 years ago. So now you can get a hold. But he also published another book after they took that one back. Well, I think I don't know the total history of it, but he published a second book, and the second book was the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth, and the first one was the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross.
Wow!
But it only makes sense if you think about people who lived back then. And we know that psychedelic mushrooms aren't recent; they existed forever,
yes.
right? So if these people found them, and they most certainly did,
yes.
There's a lot of depictions of them, and there's also a lot of iconography and a lot of like you see shapes that resemble mushrooms like all over the place in some of the ancient artwork, and even people that are dancing naked under the influence of a mushroom. So there's a translucent mushroom shape that surrounds them in these ancient paintings and these religious paintings. These people are dancing. So most likely they were tripping balls. Well, if you didn't know any better, of course you would think that's God talking to you. If you didn't know what psilocybin is, you didn't know what dimethyltryptamine is, you didn't know what any of these things are.
Well, you're also going to hear literal voices.
Yes, literal voices.
So it's not even that it's not a metaphor. You're going to hear a voice talking to you.
Right. So people that think that like these people who created religion were all liars, they're probably more likely trippers. Because if you look at all these religious stories, they're all crazy and weird and fantastical and wonderful, but most of them are like guides to live life in a more virtuous or pious or moral way, right? That's what the tenets of a lot of these religions. Well, that's what you get when you trip. When you trip, you got to be a better person.
Yeah. Okay,
that's what you get. You get this like profound humbling, I shouldn't say humiliation, but humbling in the face of this titanic expression and experience that you can't even describe with words. And then after it's over, you want to be a better person.
And there's also a sense of comfort that it's going to be okay.
Yes, it's going to be okay.
Which is what religion traditionally gives a lot of people, like the sense of reassurance that someone's looking out. You're not going to accidentally, go.
It's not even that. You get a feeling that even if it's not okay, it's okay.
Right. Yes.
Like when you die, it's okay.
Like
when you trip balls, like one of the things that Larry Hagman say. Remember Larry Hagman from Dallas?
That
guy?
I will say Dallas is probably the greatest show of all time.
Great fucking show.
That is, and people confuse with Dynasty, which was trashy.
Garbage.
Dallas was one of
it's a great show.
I think it's literally the best show of all time, in my opinion.
Was his name JR? What was his last name? Ewing. That's right. Well, he tripped balls and talked about it on CNN and said that it was one of the best experiences of his life because he no longer was afraid of death. Before that, he was afraid of death. And the one thing that tripping hard apparently, really did for him is that he no longer held that fear.
And he had stared death in the face because of his alcoholism. Mm-hmm. He had to have a liver transplant or whatever it was. So it was no joke.
Yeah.
He was a huge alcoholic.